3 spine-chilling adventure horror stories. Story 1, The Whispering Woods, Deep Forest Adventure. Jack had always craved adventure. From climbing the tallest mountains to exploring the depths of abandoned mines, his thirst for the unknown drove him forward. The Appalachian Mountains, with their vast, untouched forests, had long called to him, but one particular place piqued his curiosity more than any other. The Whispering Woods. Locals spoke in hushed tones about the Whispering Woods, warning of its dark reputation. People had gone missing, their screams swallowed by the thick trees and tangled underbrush. But Jack was undeterred. With a backpack full of essentials, water, snacks, a compass, and a sturdy flashlight, he set off on a crisp autumn morning, excitement bubbling within him. As he entered the forest, sunlight filtered through the canopy, illuminating patches of the forest floor. The crisp air was invigorating, and Jack felt a rush of freedom. He hiked for hours, the sounds of nature surrounding him, the occasional rustle of leaves and chirp of birds providing a comforting backdrop. But soon, the chirping faded, replaced by an unsettling silence that gnawed at his instincts. After a while, he heard it, a faint whisper carried by the wind. Jack stopped, straining to listen, but the sound dissipated into the rustle of leaves. Shaking his head, he dismissed it as his imagination, convinced the forest was merely playing tricks on him. He pressed on, his curiosity piqued. As he journeyed deeper, the atmosphere shifted. The trees seemed to close in around him, their trunks growing thicker, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. It was then that the whispers returned, more distinct this time. They beckoned him, a haunting melody that echoed through the air. Despite feeling a chill creep down his spine, he couldn't resist the pull. He followed the sound, each step igniting both fear and intrigue. Eventually, he stumbled upon a clearing dominated by an ancient tree. Its gnarled roots snaked through the earth, and its trunk was covered in strange symbols that pulsed faintly, as if alive. The whispers crescendoed into a haunting symphony, enveloping him. Jack felt an inexplicable urge to touch the tree, and as he reached out, he traced the carvings with his fingertips. The moment his skin to contact, a shockwave surged through him. The whispers transformed into frantic screams, drowning out his thoughts. Jack realized he was not alone. Shadowy figures began to materialize at the edge of the clearing, their features indistinct yet terrifying. Panic surged within him. The tree was not merely a part of the forest, it was a dark force, feeding off the souls of those lost within the woods. He turned to flee, but the trees twisted and contorted, their branches clawing at him as if trying to keep him trapped. Heart racing, Jack sprinted through underbrush, branches tearing at his skin. The figures pursued him, their whispers growing louder, more desperate. They promised safety, a way out if he surrendered to the tree's power. In a moment of clarity, Jack realized the truth. The whispers were the souls of those who had entered the woods before him, trapped forever. The tree was a conduit for their despair, and if he didn't act quickly, he would become just another lost soul. With a newfound determination, Jack turned back toward the tree, raising a branch he had picked up. The whispers turned into screams of rage, as he swung with all his might. The branch splintered against the bark, but the tree trembled violently, shaking loose the very ground beneath him. The clearing collapsed into chaos. Jack ran for his life, the shadows closing in around him. He burst through the underbrush, stumbling into the open air, gasping for breath. He turned back for one last look at the Whispering Woods, knowing that while he had escaped, the whispers would forever haunt him. Story 2, Sands of Desolation, Desert Adventure. Mark, Rachel, and David had always dreamed of exploring the vast expanse of the Sahara Desert. Captivated by its beauty and mysteries, they planned every detail of their trip, eager for adventure. They were seasoned travelers, well prepared with maps, water, and camping gear. As they set off into the Golden Dunes, excitement bubbled within them. The first days were filled with laughter and discovery. They marveled at the endless dunes, the stunning sunrises, and the way the stars illuminated the night sky. But on the fourth day, the weather shifted unexpectedly. Dark clouds loomed on the horizon, and a fierce sandstorm rolled in, forcing them to seek shelter. As the storm raged, they struggled to maintain their bearings. The winds howled, and the sand stung their skin. When the storm finally subsided, they realized they had lost airway. Familiar landmarks were buried beneath the relentless sand. Desperate and dehydrated, they stumbled upon a massive dune that concealed something beneath it. With newfound hope, they climbed the dune, only to discover the remnants of an ancient city, half buried and eerie. Why silent? The architecture was unlike anything they had ever seen, with intricate carvings and strange symbols adorning the walls. As they explored, an unsettling feeling settled over them. The air grew heavy, and strange noises began to echo through the ruins, low moans and whispers that seemed to call to them. Rachel insisted they leave, but curiosity drove them deeper into the heart of the city. In the city center, they found a massive stone altar surrounded by skeletal remains. The air felt charged, and an unexplainable dread filled their hearts. As GHT fell, the whispers intensified, and they felt a presence lurking in the shadows. Mark scoffed at Rachel's fears, but unease settled over them, like a thick fog. That night, they set up camp near the altar. As they attempted to sleep, strange phenomena occurred, lights flickered, shadows danced on the walls, and Rachel woke screaming, convinced something had touched her. They discovered strange markings on her arms, symbols resembling those on the altar. Determined to escape, they gathered their gear at dawn. But as they attempted to leave the ruins, sand began to shift beneath them, almost as if the city itself was alive. Panic erupted, and they ran blindly through the twisting streets, desperate to find an exit. Just when they thought they had found their way out, they were confronted by shadowy figures emerging from the and their hollow eyes glinted with malice, and the whispers transformed into frantic screams, pleading for release. The trio realized too late that the city was a trap, feeding on their fear and despair. As the ground began to swallow them, Mark made a desperate choice. He grabbed Rachel and David, pulling them toward the altar, convinced that destroying it was their only chance. With every ounce of strength, they attacked the altar, but the figures closed in, their cries deafening. In a climactic moment, the altar shattered, sending a shockwave through the ruins. The figures wailed, and the city trembled. The ground split open, revealing a chasm leading to darkness. Mark, Rachel, and David barely managed to escape as the ruins collapsed behind them. Not without a price. They left part of themselves buried in the sands of desolation. Story 3, Beneath the Surface, Underground Adventure. Sarah, Tom, and Alex were passionate cavers, always seeking the next big thrill. When they heard about a newly discovered cave system beneath the remote mountains, their excitement grew. Armed with headlamps, climbing gear, and a sense of adventure, they set off, eager to explore the uncharted depths. The entrance to the cave was hidden behind a roaring waterfall, a thrilling discovery that made their hearts race. As they descended into the darkness, the sound of water echoed around them. Stalactites dripped with moisture, creating a symphony of drops that resonated in the cave. The atmosphere felt charged, and laughter filled the air as they marveled at the stunning formations surrounding them, glimmering calcite columns, underground rivers, and walls that sparkled with minerals. After hours of exploration, they began to notice range markings on the walls, ancient symbols etched deep into the stone, like a forgotten language of the earth. Tom, always the skeptic, brushed it off as simple cave art. But Sarah felt an uneasy chill creeping down her spine, as if the cave itself were alive, watching them with unseen eyes. The atmosphere grew thicker, and an unsettling silence fell over them, swallowing their laughter. As they ventured deeper, the cave's twists and turns seemed to defy logic. The low, rhythmic hum they had first dismissed became more pronounced, resonating through the tunnels. It was hypnotic, almost soothing, yet there was an undercurrent of dread. Sarah felt a strange pull toward the sound, while Tom insisted they focus on their exploration, arguing that they should head back before it got too late. Tensions began to rise as the darkness set in around them. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a massive underground chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. At its center stood an altar, adorned with bones and artifacts that seemed to have been left there long ago. The hum grew louder, vibrating through their bodies and filling their minds with an overwhelming urge to approach. Sarah felt an inexplicable connection, a desire to touch the altar. Tom's skepticism quickly turned to fear as he glanced at the bones, realizing that they might not be alone in the cave. As they drew closer, the altar radiated a dark energy that warped reality around them. Shadows flickered in the corners of their vision, and whispers echoed in their ears, beckoning them closer. "We shouldn't be here," Tom urged, backing away. But Sarah was entranced, stepping forward despite the danger. Alex, caught in the middle, hesitated, torn between the two. Just then, the ground shook violently. A cacophony of whispers erupted, filling the chamber with frantic cries. The shadows surged toward them, figures shifting in the darkness, their features indistinct yet terrifying. Panic surged within Tom as he grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her back. "We have to leave now." But as they turned to flee, the cave entrance collapsed, sealing them inside. The darkness closed in around them, the air thick with fear. The shadows danced, whispering their names, weaving tales of regret and despair that clawed at their minds. Tom's heart raced as he realized they were trapped in a nightmare. "Look!" Alex shouted, pointing at the altar. "We need to destroy it." The shadows seemed to respond, writhing in anger at their defiance. Tom and Alex rushed toward the altar, but Sarah stood frozen, her eyes wide with terror. The hum intensified, drowning out their thoughts, and the shadows lunged at them. Tom and Alex grabbed rocks, striking the altar with all their strength. The moment their blows landed, a shockwave rippled through the cave, and the altar began to crack. The shadows shrieked, their whispers turning into a deafening roar. But the cave retaliated, the ground trembled, and stalactites fell like daggers. "Keep going!" Alex shouted, fear igniting his resolve. With one final strike, the altar shattered, sending a blinding light through the chamber. The shadows wailed, their forms disintegrating in the brightness, but the cave shook violently, threatening to collapse around them. In the chaos, Tom grabbed Sarah's hand. "We need to run." They dashed through the crumbling passageways, the cave's rage echoing in their ears. As they stumbled through the darkness, the whispers faded, replaced by the sound of rushing water. They found themselves at the edge of a narrow underground river. "We have to jump," Sarah yelled over the roar of the water. Without hesitation, they leapt into the river, the cold water pulling them under. They struggled against the current, fighting their way to the surface. Gasping for air, they emerged from the river, drenched and disoriented. The cave entrance loomed ahead, framed by the cascading waterfall. With all their remaining strength, they swam toward it, the water pushing them closer to freedom. As they crawled out of the river and stumbled onto solid ground, they collapsed on the rocky shore, panting heavily. They too earned back to look at the cave, its darkness now just a shadow behind them. They had escaped, but the memory of the whispers lingered in their minds, haunting them. The experience had changed them, a part of them forever entwined with the darkness they had faced. As they made their way back through the wilderness, the sunlight felt foreign on their skin. They had confronted the shadows beneath the surface, but the fear remained, a reminder of the darkness that lurked within them all.